Africa is much bigger than Europe, but we don't know enough about this region. The general topic about social security and also ecological crisis are very important topic so far, because social security in general is kind of a way how the nation state secure the society, maybe on the national level, and also now the whole world is suffer from the ecological crisis and a lot of natural disasters. So I think under such context, it makes sense to do some research about this topic.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you brought a globe with you. So what does this globe have to do with your research?
Because my research is kind of a international comparative research, and I will collect data from maybe most of countries on this globe or in our globe. And so I think maybe it could give us a kind of visual feeling of this research, and also from this globe we can clearly see that Europe is not that big in this globe, and in the past most of research is kind of European centered, but now we can see Europe is just a small part in the world. And there's, for example, Africa is much bigger than Europe, but we don't know enough about this region, and similar like Latin America and also Asia. So there are still a lot to know in the world. So I think from this group we can try to have kind of a global perspective instead of only focus on some so-called developed countries, but we try to observe more in the world. So that's why I brought this globe.
Yeah, and I mean it's very impressive, because if you have a map of the world, at least in our maps, Europe is always in the center and is always quite big from the perspective, yeah. And Africa seems to be small, but in fact it is like that, like the globe shows. Yeah.
Exactly. And before I went to Germany, then the maps I saw in China, always China is in the middle. Yeah. So it's kind of also, I mean, we can have some reflection in this way.
Yeah.
Even the map, this geographic stuff is not only about geography, but also some politics stuff.
Yes, and about
culture.
power, let's say. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, or meaning, yeah,
Yes.
significance. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. How did you come to this topic?
There are several reasons, but in general, I'm interested in space. Like space is not only kind of a physical stuff, but also have social meanings. And as we said, Europe is small, but in research or in many people's view, it's a very big place. But for other regions, we don't really know a lot. So we thought, this is just some small part in the world, but it's not. And also in sociology, we talk a lot about structural factors, how this kind of social level stuff have an influence on the individuals. So I think maybe we should, or I should, know more about policy. So I think for this project it provides a very good opportunity for me to combine this and then see maybe how the governments have some influence on individuals' life, especially under this global crisis about ecological.
What kind of data do you use for this research?
For this research, I need to collect some data myself and then construct an international data set. So we need to look through the documents from the governments or ministries, and then we extract information from the official documents, or maybe also some report from international organizations. And then based on these documents, we kind of construct a framework for the data set, and then based on this, and then we kind of analyze this data in a quantitative way.
So when we are thinking about quantitative research, yeah, we are always thinking about numbers, I think. But what you do is you have numbers on the one hand, but on the other hand you also have texts. So how do you deal with the texts in statistical analysis?
And for the text, so far the variables relevant to text are mainly, for example, the national agency who are in charge of these national programs, and also the objectives of these national programs. From this kind of data, we can analyze, what kind of agencies are in charge of such programs. Maybe in the past only maybe the Ministry of Social Security, and now in such national social programs which respond to ecological crisis, maybe some other ministries are also involved, maybe the ministries of environment or some ministries of development or something like this. Yeah, we will check the website of the governments, and we also read some reports from international organizations, because especially in Africa, or at least in Africa, there are a lot of national programs which are supported by the international organizations, and so we kind of check both. So we have a list for the countries, and then we look through the countries, and also on the other hand we check these reports.
For example, World Bank or international organizations like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
World Bank, and also ILO, like International Labour Organization, and also some agencies in the United Nations.
Now you're Chinese in Germany, and your colleagues come from other countries as well, from Germany and from
Ireland,
European
yeah.
countries. And how is this for you to work here as a Chinese person?
I think working here as a Chinese person, or my role as a Chinese person, provides me a different perspective when I look at some stuff. So as you said, in our group we also have colleagues from Ireland, Europe, and also Germany. So in this way we can really see some maybe different perspectives, and then in this way we could be more critical or more tolerant of some stuff, and then can observe some stuff in a different way. And so I think this kind of distance also helps me.
And is there something that you learned personally already from this project?
Definitely, there are a lot of things I have known since this is research about many countries, and then in this way I also know kind of different situations in different countries. And then for example, even some countries in Africa, I even didn't know the name of the countries. And now I got to know more about these areas, and then I also realized, people in different areas, they also live in a different way, and some areas also kind of have some wars or some poverties, and also it also helps me to be more reflective, because maybe before I started this project, I think I know a lot about China, and then maybe I know more about Germany, but for other, and then maybe we think, this is the main part of the world, but actually no. So this research kind of also broadens my understandings of the world.
I'm thinking about that because especially in the case of Africa, because all we get to know from Africa, or most of the things are about disasters, more or less, floods, droughts, wars, and that's what we get to know more or less. But the people in Africa are also leading their normal lives. I mean, they have a living, and I guess that's also something that you learned there in your project, right?
Exactly. Yes, I think even in Africa, there are a lot of people who are in poverty, but also there are also some rich families, or there are also some middle classes. So I'm interested in social research. I want to understand more about our societies and what is happening now, and maybe what will happen, and to know more about the mechanisms of the society. That's also why I choose sociology. I studied mechanical engineering during my bachelor. Then I realized maybe the development of technology could help people's life, but it's not enough, and it will also bring some problems. So I think we still need to understand more about the society.
And just out of curiosity, why did you come to Germany?
I think I like the academic atmosphere in Germany, and also the most famous sociologists are from Germany, Karl Marx and Max Weber, and also like some sociologists from the Bielefeld University. And I think if I really want to know more about sociology, I think Germany is a nice place.